What's up, folks? Welcome to the first ever live debates on atheism and abortion. It is my view that these two subjects are the most important subjects that. Hold on, I gotta mute myself in the chat. I always forget to do that.
Mhm.
Okay, I just muted myself, but as I was saying, it's my view that these are the most important subjects in our time today. And we're going to be doing a lot of these on my channel, so look forward to seeing these quite a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link out, and then if anyone wants to come in here and have this discussion, then let's have this discussion. Let's make this.
Did you add tags to
Already
your
did.
YouTube?
Did all that. Yep.
Okay.
All right, so the link is out there, and let's get this show on the road. Let's get this popping. But I was just like, look, it doesn't seem to be anybody actually hosting, something specific like this. So I'm like, I might as well take over. If ain't no one else gonna start, I might as well be doing it. We already got people in the chat right now, so this is gonna be fun. So if anyone's listening to this, the link is already out there, and we're just waiting for people to join. But if I ain't got anything to say, I'm not gonna be talking the whole time because I'm not just gonna sit here talking to myself. I already let people know in the chat that if I don't talk, it's not because I'm not here, but because I'm just waiting for people to join. So if you want to have the
You need to
discussion,
give
the
me
link is there.
you need to give me mods in the YouTube text chat.
Yeah, I haven't seen you type there. If you can like type like a test comment, I can do that.
All right, that's good.
Yeah, you already have mods. Because I see the little wrench there. You already have mods. Do you see it? If you see a blue wrench by your name, then you can come in. I mean, not come in, but you can have mods. So your name here says, I'll pass for now. I'll wait when DD leaves. I don't get along with him. Wow. We haven't even
You'll
really gotten into
notice
the
that
game. We already got people backing out.
PG in the external text said that I failed the test. But you see, how can I fail how can I fail any test in your worldview, PG? You'd have to establish that nature operates in a uniform way.
What test is he talking about?
Well, he's just being funny. He's being funny, but I'm just giving him a little bit back. You see, whenever a skeptic or an atheist advocates, hold on one second. I'll be right back.
All right.
fiance. She says this was with her permission. A whole bunch of other nonsense. He moved in September.
So we haven't even been going on that long. We already have 10 viewers, but nobody's joining. Interesting.
All right, just to let you know, Realistic Nihilist is trying to snipe the room. I removed him.
Yeah, that name looked kind of weird. I figured people would be doing this. This doesn't surprise me. So, if we get the impression out there that anyone is a troll, you will be removed.
Yeah, for those of you out there watching, we have a small handful of troglodytes, such as Realistic Nihilist, going under the name Taunus. He's attempting to snipe.
She did. So afterwards, she went to work for PR as an intern. They were a clothing agency, and later on,
And that's a real shame because that's a lot of wasted intelligence. The guy is very, very intelligent, but just wasted on trying to snipe people who disagrees with his worldview and who can give him a difficult time establishing his worldview. So we have Ryden's Rants in here. What's up, E? How you doing, man? You hear us?
Before I figure out how much you owe them, I would like you to tell me why you think you're entitled to live someplace without paying rent. Why do you know? Why you think that you're entitled to live someplace without paying rent? Without paying rent, you're paying rent. I offer myself to pay
Where's that tune coming from? That's a catchy tune.
That's an alarm.
The viewers are piling up, but we aren't getting anybody joining in here. I mean, we're not just going to be sitting here talking to ourselves. I mean, a debate is generally people who.
All right, I just to let you know, I banned Realistic Nihilist from the external text chat due to his chronic sniping.
You have my control, brother. Do whatever you feel is necessary.
Well, you know what? He wouldn't be banned from the external chat if he had actually behaved himself and didn't behave like a 13-year-old.
Agreed. Now we have Gary Hall in here. He's cool. So I disagree with him a lot, but I don't think he's a troll by any means. So this is going to be interesting. Okay, so we have Gary Hall here now. How's it going, man?
I'm cool. Sorry about that.
All right, so you're obviously not in here because you're an atheist, because you identify as a Christian. So are you a pro-choicer, maybe?
I'm pro-choice in attitude, but I'm pro-life by attitude, pro-choice by action. But that's not what I want to talk about, right? I want to talk about atheists in this sort of regard. Again, atheists don't have a worldview. Atheism is a single answer to a single proposition.
Oh, okay.
You're correct. You're correct. Atheists don't have a worldview because they can't give any type of a justification for anything. So you're correct. They don't have a worldview. Everything they say is meaningless because they have no way to derive meaning. So you're correct. They don't have a worldview. They have nothing.
No.
They have no, Gary, they have no ability to utter coherent statements, and here's why. In order to utter statements that are intelligible and meaningful, they'd have to establish that there are fundamental laws of logic. Can they do that, Gary? Because without the laws of logic, then statements cannot be coherent. Now, did you understand the question? If not, I'll repeat it.
No, I understood the question. The thing is, the laws of logic exist as a concept derived from philosophies, like, for example, the Platonics and Socratean philosophies. I don't have anything that has to do with a deity existing or not, because that all
Okay.
is what atheism is doing.
Gary, just like the last time, I ask you a simple question and you don't answer my question. You just blather on about something else. Now, the question I asked you was, can an atheist justify that the certain preconditions of rationality exist, such as the laws of logic? Can an atheist do that, Gary?
You would have to ask an atheist that. I would say they can.
Well, the answer is they can't. How would an atheist ascertain that it is the case that for all entities that exist, that they can never coexist with their negation, which would be the opposite of the law of non-contradiction? So in order for statements to be actually intelligible and meaningful about anything, the law of non-contradiction would have to hold, right? Since the atheist cannot support that the law of non-contradiction holds absolutely and universally, then there's no basis for them to claim intelligibility. Now, since I and Antonio start from the position that it is the case that the Christian God exists and the atheist exists in that world, by virtue of God, the Christian God existing, they can make meaningful statements. But when they deny the God who upholds and sustains them, then they don't have ability to utter statements that are intelligible from their position as an atheist.
Right, but you do understand that atheists don't say for definite God does not exist, right?
Say that again?
Atheists do not say for absolute certain that God does not exist.
Some atheists do.
No, most atheists don't.
I don't care what their degree of certainty is. When you look under the definition of atheism in virtually all reference works, with rare exceptions, the historical and most commonplace usage is that atheism is the denial of the existence of God. You will not find in those reference works, whether dictionaries, dictionaries and encyclopedias of philosophy, them describing atheism having something to do with a certain confidence level. All right?
It's nothing to do with confidence level. It's all about the proposition being proposed and how probable that subject is. Now, to atheists, the proposition of God existing is less than 50% verifiable. Therefore, they're not convinced of its existence. Doesn't mean that they can't. They can be. They can be by cogent argumentation. Now, the problem is that you're taking the hardline anti-theists who say absolutely no, and apply that to all atheists, which is a little bit unfair. Hello? Hello? Okay.
No, I have something to do for a minute. I'll be back.
Okay. Okay, so Antonio, so what were you discussing about? I mean, like, I don't see what the connection between not believing in God and being a pro-choicer has any sort of connection. Because there are non-believers who are pro-choice, there are non-believers who are pro-life.
Well, that's a great observation. They don't have a connection, and I never said that they did. All I said was that this is life based on atheism and abortion. I didn't say that the subjects necessarily intertwine.
All right, sorry. It's just by your subject title, that's all.
Yep. So I guess until DD comes back and y'all continue our exchange, talk about when you say.
And I'm back.
Well, never mind. He's back. All right.
Welcome back. So sorry, wait, you're in the middle of a thought there, Antonio. Sorry, finish it, please. So what do you have a conversation about?
Oh no, that can wait. Yeah, I had a conversation that didn't conclude. Yeah, that can wait.
Okay. I was just saying to DD that again his categorization and marginalization of atheists is rather sad. It speaks to me somebody who doesn't know or has interacted with atheists on a personal level in majority. Now I speak as somebody who was an atheist at one point in my life. I'm not anymore. And I can tell you for a fact that they do not say for definite God does not exist. So again, the thing is, I had rationalities and reason. Now, the thing is that I changed my mind on that subject. Now, the thing is, what DD has to prove is that atheists are working on a false assumption there, or false.
No, I don't have to prove anything. When an atheist comes to the table, he's going to have to demonstrate that the necessary preconditions exist. In the Christian worldview, we have that established by the revelation of God. One either accepts that revelation or they don't.
Okay, but
You see, an atheist does not have the capacity to be omniscient. So there's no way to establish the uniformity of nature or the laws of logic.
They use science and they use methodological naturalism as a methodology.
Gary, in all due respect, you don't know what you're talking about. Because you see, science presupposes the uniformity of nature, right? For all the atheist knows, the events that he witnesses in the past and in the present and in the future, whatever consistencies that the atheist observes, he has no, sorry about that alarm. The atheist has no ability to distinguish whether those events are the product of a law-like background or that chance is producing this, right? So an atheist can appeal to science all they want. That's just begging the question philosophically, Gary.
Look, I mean, I think, look, I'm going to talk for myself here. I think it's a poor position to take. But if someone wants to take that position, well, I would think it's a stupid one. I think it's a position that if you say, I'm an absolute methodological naturalist, nothing can come into that. That is a rational and cogent worldview based upon what we see in nature. Now, you can say that worldview is flawed, and I would agree with you, it is. But at least acknowledge that somebody can come to that rationally.
When an atheist rejects that it is the case that the Christian God exists, how do they establish that the necessary preconditions for rationality exist?
They accept them based upon the laws of logic as discussed as I said, in Socratean and Platonic philosophies.
Okay, Gary, that's circular.
No, that is what we in the West base our rationalities upon.
No. Gary, do you accept that God has revealed that he has constructed the world in a certain way?
Yes.
Okay, good. So do you have it by means of revelation that nature operates in a regular way and that nature is governed by the laws of logic, if you will? In other words, that nature operates in a way that comports to the way the mind of God operates. Do you accept that, Gary?
Yes, I personally do. Yeah.
Okay, how does an atheist establish that for all entities that exist, that they can never equal their negation?
Right, but you're on the straw man again, because
That
again,
was a question, Gary. Gary, we're having a fundamental problem here. This happened the last conversation, and it's happening again. I ask you a very simple question, and you just blather on about something that I didn't say to you. Now, Gary, how does an atheist establish that there are fundamental absolute laws of logic? How would they do so?
They base it upon methodological naturalism, most of them, or they base it upon
No,
Socratic
okay.
theory.
You don't. All right, Gary. Seriously, dude, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, I do know what I'm talking about. I studied philosophy for 2 years. So you're going to educate me about a topic that I studied, are you?
Okay, I really don't want to do this, but you're forcing me to do this.
You have mind control.
You don't know what you're talking about. Adopting
really?
Adopting a worldview.
Really?
No, I'm not upset with what his behavior. Gary's behavior is fine. We're just disagreeing. That's all.
No, I'm just trolled by being told.
No, when you invoke methodological naturalism, right? That cannot justify or establish the laws of logic. Do you understand that?
No, it never, and I never said it did. I've said that.
Okay, good. Then when I ask you, how would an atheist establish the laws of logic? You said they can do it by asserting methodological naturalism. But now you contradicted yourself.
No, I'm saying
that methodological naturalism cannot do that.
And I said about 2 minutes ago, I find that incoherent worldview. What part of that do you want to say? But again, I don't hold to that view. But maybe somebody who does can explain to you better than I can, because I cannot explain to you a position I do not hold. I must tell you, like for example, the picture you use, Mr. Richard Dawkins, he is a strict fundamentalist, methodological naturalist. Would you agree with that?
I assume so, yeah.
Okay, so therefore, he would make the same statements that you're making about him, about you, correct?
You want to run that past me again?
I said he would make the same statements you're making about him that he would make about you, correct? You just exchange, well, you're believing this based upon this, and you're believing this based upon that, right? And my point is that, again, it gets us nowhere when you're doing that. Because, again, atheists base their views upon many things.
What do I care? What do I care if it gets us nowhere? The atheists have no foundations upon which to build upon in terms of reason or logic.
Yes, they do.
No, I got to hold on. I got to turn my alarm off. I apologize. All right, let's see. You see, Gary, you're quite mistaken. You're quite mistaken. You see, the atheist, if he's going to tell us that he's going to be using reason and logic, he's going to have to, in order for an atheist to speak coherently and rationally, they're going to have to establish that the fundamental preconditions for rationality exist. Now, Gary, are the laws of logic and that nature operates in a law-like way a fundamental precondition for rationality?
I'd say so, otherwise we couldn't understand it.
Right. And can an atheist, when they claim that they can reason with and to us, can they establish, hey, Og, hey, bud, I haven't seen you in a while. How are you? I guess his mic isn't working. So Gary, can an atheist, when they claim to be able to reason with and to us, can an atheist establish that there are fundamental absolute laws of logic, or that nature operates in a law-like way?
Yeah.
How?
Nietzschean theory.
What was that?
Nietzschean theory.
And how does that work out?
God. Do you want me to explain what Nietzschean theory is to you?
Yeah, tell me how an atheist using that approach can establish that nature operates in a law-like way and that the universe is governed by the laws of logic.
Because if you've ever read Nietzsche, and I suppose you had if you balk at it, because what Nietzsche argued...
I'm still waiting for an answer instead of you talking around.
Well, if you keep on interrupting me, I won't be able to get an answer out, will I?
I'm only interrupting you because you have a nasty habit of not answering the question.
I was in the middle of answering before you interrupted me. If I could be able to face. Now, if you've actually read Nietzschean theory, it talks about, for example, how the laws of logic have to do with the constants of the universe. Like there's things that are constant, like for example, that light travels a certain amount of distance. That the things that are measurable. That things like, for example, the law of gravity is a constant. Like for example, the laws of the travel of light is constant. For example, the mass of the universe.
How does an atheist establish that anything is constant? Is it through your sense perception?
Most of them would say so, but again, I can't speak for every atheist on the planet.
Okay, is there any other means besides sense perception of one's environment? Other than that, is there any other means by which they can establish the laws of logic?
Philosophy.
Okay, how does an atheist establish through philosophy that the laws of logic are absolute and universal?
Like for example, Bertrand Russell did it by, I think he was talking about, for example, that the absolute of human logic and reason. He made several books on the subject. I mean, I'm sure
You're still not answering my question. You're bloviating.
No, I am answering the question. You just don't accept the answer.
No, giving me a generalization is not an answer. Tell me how an atheist specifically can establish that it is the case that the laws of logic hold absolutely and universally.
We don't need to. We can assume them.
Okay, when you say you don't need to, why would you need to do anything in your worldview? When you say we don't need to, you're either presupposing that some things are needed to do or nothing is needed to do. So which is it?
Neither.
Well, then why did you say we don't need to?
We don't need to provide reason behind some basal assumptions. We can assume that the laws of logic are present.
So then anything you build upon those beliefs are just glorified assumptions. But you see, let me ask you this question, Daryl.
Wait,
Daryl,
before you ask the question,
why don't you believe in God?
Oh, go on. Well, because it's entirely superfluous to everything that exists. Without God, everything continues to exist exactly the same as it does.
Well, first of all, when you say without God, can you demonstrate to us succinctly that no God exists?
Only insofar as I can demonstrate that pink fairies on the moon don't exist.
Okay, so the answer is no. So how do you know then?
I don't need to.
Since you, well, hold on a second. What I would appreciate that you do is respond to my specific points. Now, when you say that God is superfluous and things continue on without God, you're presupposing that God does not exist. And existence depends on something else for its existence. Now, how do you, when I asked you, how do you know that God doesn't exist? You made an appeal to pink fairies. The fact of the matter is what you're doing is you're offering the absence of evidence as evidence of absence argument. Are you not?
No. I mean, demonstrate the existence of God, the influence of God on anything, and then there will be some reason to start.
Daryl, does God exist?
No.
How do you know that?
Try my check.
Hold on a second. How are you able to determine that no God exists?
My chief reason.
Hey, Darwin. Hey, can I butt in just for a mic check?
All right.
Yeah, you're working.
Yep,
you're working on.
Hey, Darwin. What's up?
Yeah, my chief reason.
I haven't seen you in about a year. I haven't been on the chat. I forgot how everything works.
Sorry
my
about
problem
that.
is I didn't mean to interrupt your wonderful conversation.
Now
I'm wondering,
okay. Go ahead.
I got my audio and microphone working, and I got to go take a pee, but everybody's going to hear me, right? So I'm going to leave my headphones here, go pee, and I'll be right back, all right?
All right. Thanks for that informative information.
Sorry. Crazy world.
Okay, so Daryl.
I mean, my chief reason was the absence of evidence where evidence should exist. It's those.
What do you mean should? Necessary or preferential?
the evidence for God that you refer to necessary or preferential?
Yeah, no, I mean, let's take the God of the Bible just for a second.
No, let's take any God for that matter, because we're discussing atheism. We're not discussing individual gods. You're an atheist. You say no God exists.
Let's do it one at a time. And I was just going to give you an example. In the Bible, it says that the world was globally flooded. Now, if that was the case, there should be evidence of a global flood, and that didn't happen. There isn't evidence.
How would you know what the evidence of a global flood would leave down?
The evidence for a global flood would be a little bit like the evidence which supports the KT boundary, which is a global iridium layer.
Okay, how would you? You're not answering my question. How would you know that the global flood would lay down any uniform layer? How would you possibly know that? Would it be by computer modeling, or have you actually experienced? Have you actually witnessed? Have you actually observed, tested a global flood and what would occur, or have you done computer modeling?
I have seen the effects of floods.
No, I didn't ask you about the effects. I didn't ask you that question. I didn't ask you what effects you've seen of local floods, because local floods would not be the same beast as a global flood.
So somehow you think water and
you're extrapolating. Okay, I'm going to ask you a very simple question. Are you extrapolating from experience, from local floods, and then scaling that in your imagination to a global scale?
Pretty much.
Okay, does scaling always work?
I'm sure there are exceptions, but what has that got to do with scaling?
You're scaling it in your imagination.
To do with scaling
you're scaling it in your imagination. You see, you would have us believe that your objection is a scientific one, but all you're basing it on is scaling a local flood in your imagination to a global level, and then saying, "Well, here's what I would expect to see." But all you're doing it is based upon your own imagination.
If we look at, say, a flood caused by a tidal wave, a tsunami, we can see the impact that it has on the physical.
Again, you're completely ignoring what I just said. You're completely ignoring what I just said.
No, he's not.
Okay. And by the way, we're still getting off the subject now. You're changing the subject from atheism to a global flood, and we need to get back to our
possible that a global flood could exist, especially in the timescales described in the Bible.
Well, hold on a second. How are you capable? How are you capable in your worldview to establish that anything is impossible? Could you tell us that?
You ask weird questions.
No, it's not a weird question. What it comes down to is your worldview. Whenever you speak about certain specifics of how things work, that is a product of your worldview.
Okay.
Now, when you're invoking how things work, right? How do you know how things work?
I mean, are you claiming that impossible things can happen as long as you believe in God? Because I don't believe in God, so I don't believe impossible things can happen. I'm not claiming
at this moment, and I'd like the audience to know that you have been repeatedly dodging my questions. Now, I'm not claiming anything at the moment with you.
Yes,
I'm asking you a question. You are making claims that certain things are impossible. Now, could you please tell us from your worldview how you can establish? Can I finish without being spoken over, please? You're speaking over me. All right. Now, when you say that some things are impossible on a physical level, can you please demonstrate to us how you can determine that some things are impossible from your worldview?
Me personally, I don't need to demonstrate that things are impossible. The word itself demonstrates that some things are impossible. Impossible describes things which aren't possible.
Okay. Now, when you say something is impossible, you are referring that there is some absolute. How are you able to determine that anything is absolute?
Pigs can't fly. I know I'm not your God. There are many things I can say with absolute certainty.
Hold on on a second. Instead of
that are
elephant,
impossible.
let's deal with one thing. How do you know
Are you
that pigs
disputing any of those
cannot
things are
fly?
absolute? Are you
Okay. How do
disputing
you
those things are
know?
absolute?
How do you know how nature works on a global scale? Is it through your
Before
sense
we work out
perception?
how I know, are you
I've
disputing
asked you a
those
specific
things
question.
are real?
You continue to ignore my
No,
question.
I'm
When
staying
you
at
say
the point
pigs
we were
cannot
at.
fly, when you say pigs cannot fly,
Mhm.
are you talking about the future or the past?
I'm talking about the present.
Okay, good. Now, are you using your conclusions that pigs cannot fly based upon inductive reasoning and your sense perception?
I'm making a statement that is something which is impossible.
You are not answering my question, sir. How did you determine that globally no pigs can fly? Are you using
Oh dear.
inductive reasoning and sense perception?
Are you saying that pigs can fly?
I have not made any claims to you, sir. You
I've
made
made a
several
claim.
assertions,
I
and I
already
am
said
trying to get you to support your claims.
I
And
don't need
every
to.
time I ask you a question, you are dodging, and
No, he's not.
it's
He's
embarrassing.
just answering
I've
it.
already said the laws of logic, the fact that reality, well, actually, the laws of logic are real. You know, there are certain assumptions that I don't need to justify because everything works based on those
How do you
assumptions.
know?
Reality is real. Logic.
How
The
do
laws
you
of logic
know
apply.
how existence? How do you know how existence
Yeah.
works? Is it through sense perception?
No.
How do you know how things work without sense perception?
Independent verification.
Doesn't verification require sense perception?
Not my sense perception.
Okay. Other than your five senses, how can you
Yep.
verify how things work without sense perception?
Independent
Hey,
verification.
Darwin, who are you talking to, bro?
Daryl, you
Yeah.
are a cauldron of confusion here. I mean,
No,
it's
it's not.
embarrassing. Okay.
No,
When you say you don't use
to the
your
point.
sense perception to verify something, then tell me, are you clairvoyant?
If many people look at the same thing
That's sense perception, Daryl.
and they all arrive
That's sense perception,
at
Daryl.
the same conclusion,
That's
then
sense perception, Daryl.
that it's not my sense perception.
No, it's collective sense perception, Daryl.
Independent verification. That's exactly
Okay,
what I said.
Daryl, are you verifying the way things work on a global scale based upon collective sense perception?
Yes, and so are you.
Okay, good. Is that inductive reasoning?
I don't know. It depends
Well, the
what you're
answer is
talking about
yes,
and in
it
what
is.
situation.
It's inductive
Hang on,
reasoning. You're making a partial
Is it?
observation. You are
I don't
making a
think it is.
partial observation.
I
Can I
don't
finish
think
my
it
statement?
is. No, you've got to go back one. You said
Okay,
that was inductive.
you are making
I'm
you are
sure
making
that some
a
of that will
partial
be
observation.
inductive reasoning.
All right, Daryl, you don't know what you're talking about, and it's embarrassing. And I'm going to explain it to you. You are making a partial observation of events, and that would refer to the collective sense perception of humanity. You are then generalizing from the part to the whole in order to make global claims about how things work outside of that which you have observed collectively. Your conclusion that things work the same way they do in the collective sense perception is begging the question philosophically.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is.
No, I mean,
I'll explain it to you if you like.
You've started from false premise, well, from flawed premises, and worked
Do you
forward from
understand
that.
inductive
based
reasoning?
on
The
something you're
conclusions
telling me,
from
I think, which I
inductive
don't
reasoning
think.
cannot be logically necessitated, Daryl.
Say that again.
Okay. Are you aware that conclusions following inductive reasonings cannot be logically necessitated?
I think I follow you, but what about deductive reasoning?
Okay, you can't appeal to deductive reasoning because then you'd have to
Can't I?
observe all instances of physicality in order to argue that nature operates and works entirely in a certain way. But you don't have all physical observations, even collectively, from
Okay.
humanity. So are you using, you see, you're either using inductive, deductive, or abductive reasoning in order to establish how nature works.
Okay,
Now, which
I
of those are
entirely
you
agree.
using, Daryl?
No, I entirely agree with you, and you've just brought us to the point where we're both in exactly the same position.
How could you possibly know what position I'm in?
Because that's what you've just argued for.
No, I haven't argued for anything. The only
have.
thing that I have
You've just put
argued
yourself
for,
in exactly the
no,
same
I
position
haven't
as me.
argued for any worldview, my friend.
Oh, don't make yourself look silly. Now,
Yeah, you
So-
are looking a bit silly here, DD.
Okay, I haven't argued for any worldview
so
at the
how
moment.
did you
I've
arrive
simply
at your
examined
position?
your Daryl.
Right.
I have
Right.
simply
Yeah.
examined and questioned your global statements.
He hasn't made any claims yet on any world.
Okay, I haven't argued for anything other than examining your global statements.
Yeah,
And your
I've argued
global
that
statements
pigs can't
cannot
fly,
be ascertained.
and you've questioned the validity. I've argued that I'm not your God, and you've questioned the validity of that.
I haven't even discussed
And
that yet.
Said that
Wait a
I
minute.
can't
Whoa.
do that
Stop
because
right
it's
there.
based on
Stop.
inductive reasoning.
Stop. I haven't even addressed that yet. So how could you say I argued against something that I haven't even addressed yet since you've been in the
Well,
room?
you had to tacitly accept it in order to
No,
move
I
on.
haven't. I haven't even addressed that yet. Now, let's get back. You asserted your argument against a global flood is that nature works in a certain way. I then asked you how you were able to ascertain how nature works. And you basically answered through collective sense perception. You've also acknowledged that collective sense perception is a form of inductive reasoning. And the conclusions from inductive reasoning cannot be logically
Inductive
necessitated.
No, that's observation and deductive reasoning, as well as inductive
You're not.
reasoning.
You know what the problem is here, Daryl? You're
It's
not
not-
understanding
there's
what
not
I'm
one
saying. That's the
single-
problem.
There is not one single way of getting to this reasoning. There's also abductive reasoning. Now, inductive, deductive, and abductive reasoning are all part of the method. If you're going to stick
By
to
what
one of
means?
them,
Okay. By what
flawed.
means did you determine
Yeah.
that nature works in a certain way? Was it
Well-
inductively, deductively, or abductively?
All three.
Okay. Well, here's the mistake that you're making. You can't do so deductively, because in order to have a deductively sound argument, you would have to have a universal observation, if you will, of global events in order to deductively argue that nature works uniformly or in a law-like way. So since you and collective humanity are not omniscient, you cannot use deductive reasoning. Now, when
You've
it
used
comes
that
to
word again,
abductive
omniscient.
reasoning, it would
Are
just
you
be an
omniscient?
inference to the. Okay, it doesn't matter whether I'm omniscient. I'm showing you how
does. You're
fallacious
claiming
your reasoning
omniscience.
is.
You're
No, I
claiming
didn't claim to
omniscience as a way
no,
to
I didn't claim
justify your
omniscience.
position.
I didn't justify any of my positions. I'm merely critiquing yours, and you are failing
You're
miserably
claiming
at your
omniscience
position.
as a way to justify your position.
I
You're
have
saying it's
not. I
necessary
have
for
not.
me.
Okay, one more time.
Why
Daryl,
is it not
this is
necessary for
really
you?
embarrassing. I haven't argued for my position at all.
Why is omniscience necessary for me but not you?
Okay, Daryl, I have not argued for my position. Now,
No, I'm asking
we
you
are
a question.
examining
Why
your
is
claim.
omniscience necessary for me?
Omniscience is
But
the
not you.
only way. Okay, I will explain it to you, Daryl.
Go on.
Omniscience is the only way that you could deductively, in a logically necessary way, establish that nature works in a law-like way.
Yeah.
You understand the problem?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
All right,
this
good.
is what I was saying
Now,
before.
if one is not omniscient,
Yeah.
then you cannot make global or universal claims about how things work that are outside of your perception and have those conclusions be logically necessitated.
Okay. So we're in the same position.
No, because I haven't
you have
offered you my
omniscience?
position.
Do you have
What is
omniscience?
what is your position?
Daryl, this is
So,
getting very
according to
frustrating
you, what
here.
you just
You're
said,
being
you
intellectually
cannot
dishonest,
argue.
my friend. You are being intellectually honest. Stop pretending like I've actually argued for my worldview in this particular conversation. I haven't
I'm not
argued for
pretending
it.
that you have.
I'm examining what you have stated as an atheist. That's all I've done.
I am literally stating that I have not pretended that you are arguing for your position.
You just
I
stated
am
that I did.
saying what you have just said.
You just contradicted yourself,
in the
dude.
No,
same
he was
position.
stating what your position is.
You contradicted yourself big time, man.
You are contradicting yourself in this conversation.
Hang on a second,
left
Antonio.
and
What did you
right.
just say? Antonio, what did you? Was that aimed at me or Darwin?
What?
Was that your last comment? Was that aimed at me or Darwin?
It was aimed at you.
Okay, cool.
Okay, Daryl, do you know what begging the question is in philosophy?
Hang on, let's stay where we were. You just
No,
said
I was staying where we were. We were discussing your claim as an atheist that nature works in a certain way. You see, what he's doing is, because he doesn't know what he's talking about, he continually wants to go down new rabbit trails in order to distract.
No, I'm staying on the
his
same
initial
place.
position is unsupportable.
Same place.
Yeah,
No,
and
you're
I'm curious.
not.
I'm curious. What's the specific contradiction?
He's contradicted himself, saying that he wasn't using inductive reasoning when he was.
He said he did all three.
Okay,
Yeah.
now Daryl, you stated that nature works in a certain way. That is presupposing the uniformity of nature.
Yeah.
Now,
did
you determine the uniformity of nature by virtue of deductive reasoning?
No. Inductive.
Okay. Did you determine the
abductive.
uniformity of nature through inductive reasoning?
No. Inductive,
did you determine the uniformity of
and
nature
deductive.
through abductive reasoning?
No. Inductive,
Okay.
and abductive.
No. You see, this is really embarrassing.
No, it isn't. Look, Didi,
Okay.
I've had
Yes,
enough
it is.
of
It's
this.
embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
This is so embarrassing. It's sad. You simply do not know what you're talking about. When you're going to make a global claim, you're going to need to tell me which form of reasoning logically necessitates your global claim.
Right.
He's just talking for the sake of it.
Instead of just generalizing, I want specifics. How did you specifically determine that nature operates in a law-like way outside of the collective sense experience of humanity?
Well, that's an impossible thing to do.
Then why are you asserting it?
Because I'm not asserting it on that basis.
Yeah, you did. Yes, you did assert it. You said nature works in a certain way. That is presupposing that nature works in some regular way.
That is my presupposition.
Okay, so when you tell us that the global flood could not have happened because of the way nature works, you are therefore saying that the global flood could not happen because of your assumption.
Okay, yeah. Again,
so
I think
good. Why should I comport my reasoning to your assumption?
Because of the overwhelming evidence that supports me and not you.
No, you don't know. You see, you don't know what you're talking about. Evidence presupposes truth and rationality. Evidence requires that listen, this is what the nature of evidence is. Evidence are conclusions. Listen. In order to have evidence, your conclusions following your observations would have to conform to your basic core beliefs about the nature of reality, true or false.
I've no idea. I really didn't.
All right, I'll repeat it again to you. Evidence would be conclusions following sensory experiences that are going to conform to your most basic core beliefs about the nature of reality.
Okay, I think that's a vast simplification, and it's really begging the question. But
that's a question.
Okay, the thing
is evidence.
Okay,
conclusions following a sensory.
Do you use your brain to think?
This is going to go on for like another hour because you don't know what you're talking about. This is embarrassing.
Okay, we're both in the same position of having to rely on our sensory inputs in
How do
order
you know
to
that?
receive information.
Is it possible that the Christian
Are
God
you
exists?
saying you don't?
Is it possible that the Christian God exists?
Is it possible? No, it isn't.
How do you know that?
Because of the lack of evidence where evidence should be.
This is
And
too
the-
Okay,
easy.
good. Okay,
the
good. Can you tell me?
contradiction in
This
the
is way
term
too easy.
Christian God.
What would you necessarily see if a God existed that you say is missing? Now
Okay.
remember, it has to be
You just
necessary.
shifted the argument, mate. You just shifted the argument from God, from the Christian God to God in general. They're two different things.
Well, you see, that's what we were discussing.
No,
Atheism.
no, because atheism is a rejection of the God concept, not necessarily the Christian God alone.
Right. What would the evidence? Okay, that's fine. I can stick with the Christian
Darwin
God.
has already
Okay,
asserted.
Daryl, what would you necessarily see? What would the evidence necessarily be if the Christian Anderson, boot Tina? Okay, Tina was trying to snipe. Okay,
Yeah.
Daryl, what would the evidence necessarily be if the Christian God exists?
You should see sudden punctuated appearances of life in the order that's specified in the Bible. There should
Hold on a second.
definitely
I
be-
had something in my ear. Hold on a second. Something was in my ear. Could you start all over again?
Yeah, you should see punctuated appearances of various forms of life in the order specified in the Bible. You should see a definite Adam
Why
and
would you
Eve.
see that?
Cambrian,
Why would you see that?
Cambrian explosion?
Why would you see that?
What? Why would I expect to find things as they appear in the Bible?
No. I said to you, what are you specifically, instead of generalizing?
Yeah.
Okay. When people have very poor arguments and reasoning, they frequently appeal to very vague generalizations. Now, you need to be specific. What would you necessarily see if the Christian God existed that you claim is missing? And it has to be necessary, not preferential.
I'm sorry. Ask that question again. I was just trying to think through the Genesis account.
You said that
Go
it
on.
is not possible for the Christian God
Yeah.
to exist. Because if the Christian God did exist, we would expect to see X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
I
would
pointed
expect to
out to
find
you, in
things-
order for that argument to work, you're going to have to specify that seeing X, Y, Z is necessary and not preferential. So
I
tell
would
me, here's the question. I'll shut up. Give me 10 more seconds. Tell us what you would necessarily see if the Christian God did exist that you claim is missing.
Okay, I would expect all of reality to concord with the events of the Bible.
And
One
what
of those
does
would
not
be the global
what
flood.
does not concord with the Bible?
The global flood, the appearance of
How do you know?
life on Earth, the
Okay,
time
let's go one at a time. Let's go one at a time. Here, go one at a time. When you say the global flood, again, you are presupposing that nature works in a uniform way. Can you establish
We all have
that?
seen that.
No.
Okay, good. Then you can't appeal.
Hang on.
Then you can't
I would
appeal to
expect the moon to be a
physicality.
light source.
Can I interrupt just briefly, you guys? You're giving me so much to ruminate about here. But I want to ask Darwin, and I haven't seen you in about a year. I'm surprised you don't remember me. We chatted up. I was always friendly with you.
God, I remember you. What are you talking about? I said hello to you
a little
earlier.
bit because I got to try to make a plea for Jason.
Your mic's started
realistic.
breaking up for me.
He is
hang on.
chomping at the bit.
I can't hear you, Mike.
He didn't promise no sniping. He really wants to dismantle your argument.
Your mic is.
So yeah, there's a problem sometimes with a connection. If you reset your connection, we can hear you better. Can you hear me fine?
Okay. So
just let you know. Okay, hang on. Before you do that, when you came in the room, Dee said, "Oh, hey, Og." He actually greeted you when you came in. He definitely remembered you. So if you hit F5 to reset your connection, it usually helps.
Blind man here.
Now we're all quiet while we're watching him.
Yeah.
F5. The first lull in the conversation.
So right. Can I just say something to DD? Right. Daryl has been, I think, pretty reasonable in trying to explain his.
Yeah. Can I butt in?
Yeah, it's me.
Hey, Darwin. I was hoping. I'm glad you remember me. I've always been fond of you. You know that, Darwin.
All right, hold on a second. Og, hold on. Gary, we'll get to you in a second. Og's itching to say something. Go ahead, Og.
Hey, I'm itching to say this that Justin, realistic nihilist, is just begging to come in and dismantle your arguments. He promises no sniping or surly behavior. I haven't been here about a year.
Og, you can stop it there. Og, I'm an admin in the room. Og, I'm an admin in the room. I'm not interested in hearing pleas from people who are known regular snipers and stalkers. So please stop with that.
It's a serious mental temper problem
who's
too.
Who's the admin?
I'm an admin in here.
I'm the lead admin, but
I'm not interested in hearing you beg for known snipers. Now, okay, so Gary, so go ahead, Gary.
I'm going to speak up for Daryl here, right? He's trying to explain to you why he disagrees with the fundamentalist view of Christianity. Now, I would disagree with him because, again, I think that not more Christians would agree with that interpretation. But again, what he seems to disagree with is, let's say, for example, your interpretation of it. So again, why not grant to that for the sake of intellectual charity, and then we can move forward.
Well, the problem with Daryl, and Daryl's a very nice guy, and I appreciate him coming into the conversation, but he's very confused about many of his ideas. When I question him about his ideas, he continually scurries down new rabbit trails rather than address the questions that I'm putting to him.
No, he does address the questions we put to him.
No, he's not. He's responding, but he scurries down or segues to semi-related issues without dealing it. You see, he wants to say that certain things are impossible, but then he can't establish that things are actually impossible. He admits, well, it's based upon his assumption. So when he says that something is impossible and cannot be, he has already conceded that he's just assuming that something cannot be.
That's so true. Do you know why? Because when he was saying that it doesn't coexist with the way the flood works, he didn't really address what was wrong with the flood. He just said the flood. So he's not really addressing the claims that he's making, and he's not also answering your questions.
Well, he can't establish that nature works in any uniform way. He may intently believe it. He may appeal to his sense perception or the collective sense perception.
Peer review.
But it doesn't matter if you appeal to peer review, because that is still appealing to sense perception. And so the sense perception, the conclusions from sense perceptions do not logically necessitate global claims.
Yeah, so if you don't agree with what my five senses pick up, then you're just in error.
Exactly.
Okay, but the point I like to say is, all right, Darwin, can I ask you a question? Right, how do you know that the Bible is true?
Because God has revealed it to us in such a way that we cannot be wrong.
And how did he do that without your reliance on your senses?
I gotta deal with this real quick. Hey, if you are a true Bible believing Christian, why would you even ask that question, Gary?
I'm asking to maybe get Dawkins to understand that the way that we understand God is through our senses.
God, in the same way that God created the universe and constructed it to operate in a certain way, God has given various types of revelation. Natural revelation in it. Hold on a second. God has given revelation through his omniscience, omnipotence, and always truth-revealing nature, through nature, innately in the way our mind basically operates, the way God has constructed the human mind, and through revelations such as the Bible and through the prophets.
Right, and how do you read the Bible?
What do you mean, how do I read it? I pick it up and I start reading it in English.
What methodology do you use to read the Bible? What tactics? If you don't use your five senses,
he already answered.
Well, we've already. Well, first of all, Gary, what the mistake that you're making is I'm not questioning reasoning from with a Christian worldview. No. What I am questioning is that Daryl, in his worldview as an atheist, cannot even establish that nature operates in any regular or uniform way. It's not that I don't. Hold on a second. Please don't interrupt me. Please don't interrupt me. I am not objecting that nature operates in a uniform way from within the context of the Christian worldview. I accept that the nature operates in a uniform way, and that's the way God has revealed that he has made it. But you see, Darrell doesn't accept God's revelation. So when he asserts that things work in a certain way, he's advocating the uniformity of nature, whether he realizes it or not. And if he's going to advocate it, he's going to have to support that.
Yes. Can you provide any examples that don't support the uniformity of nature?
Repeat the question.
Can you provide any examples that don't support the uniformity of nature?
What observation would be inconsistent with the uniformity of nature?
Pigs flying?
No, you don't understand the concept of the uniformity of nature. A pig flying would just simply, hold on a second, I'm trying to answer you. This is a common mistake. No, this is no. You're very you're now confusing the issue, the discussion over the uniformity of nature versus evidences for evolution. So he's doing exactly what I said he does. You're opening up another rabbit trail here. Now, when you say that if you observed pigs flying,
to the speed of light.
Okay, let me explain something to you. The uniformity of nature is not that everything is uniform, because then the universe would be static and nothing would change. The uniformity of nature is that a large chunk of the uniform operates in a law-like way, not that everything is absolute and static. So when you said that observing that pigs could fly, that would simply be introducing a new regularity that would simply be different from past regularities. It would not, observing pigs flying, even sporadically, would not show that the uniformity of nature did not exist. What it would show is that there are some irregularities within gravity.
Okay, so what I mean by the uniformity of nature is that the way that nature works now, it has always operated in that way.
How do you know that?
Because we can see things like the speed of light, we can calculate the way it travels, and we've seen a supernova, and we've seen the effects of that.
Darrell.
That's your sense. That's your sense. That's your senses. That's what he's trying to say.
Real quick, you don't know that
Darrell, you're making a partial observation either on your behalf or collective humanity, and then you are generalizing to the whole that all photons or all whatever correspond to what you or collective humanity observed. That conclusion that you form is inductive reasosoning. When you use inductive reasoning, the conclusion cannot be logically necessitated, Darrell.
Okay, it's not just.
Finish the thought.
Oh, sorry.
I want him to complete that thought so people can. Or you're interrupting him. So complete that thought you were making.
And me, what was I saying?
About the speed of light. When you said,
Yeah, I mean, it was just one example that supports the idea that light has operated pretty much the same throughout history. There was a supernova that we've witnessed, and then we could see the light that came from that supernova in a different part of space, many millions of miles away. And we can time how long that took. Now, because the speed of light is constant, we can also work out how long it took to get to us, and we can see that that took millions of years. So what we can say is that for the last millions of years, light has operated as we would expect, consistently at the same speed in the same way.
You don't know what you're talking about, right? Now, I'm going to ask you a question.
Brett, how do you know that? Can you?
I'm going to explain to you. I'm going to explain to you.
Talking about. Can you dispute what I've just said?
Dude, you don't know what you're talking about.
Did he?
You don't know what you're talking. I'm going to explain it to you. I'm going to dispute it right now. The mistake that you're making from your atheistic worldview is that you can distinguish based upon the consistency of some events or many events that nature operates in a law-like way. I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
If nature did not operate in a law-like way, could chance produce the same type of consistencies? Yes or no?
No. So So what I have just described.
I'm sorry, my headset just went out for a second. Could go back 2 sentences.
What
No,
I've
I'm
just
not being rude. My
described
headset went
is
out. Please repeat your answer.
What I've just described is basic trigonometry.
You're not
That
answering my
hasn't
question.
changed.
You're not answering my question.
So what's your
Right?
question?
Now,
You
when
haven't answered my questions. You haven't explained to
when
me how you can escape the
when
need
you
to be omniscient.
when you observe consistencies,
Yeah.
could those consistencies be the product of a background law-like environment?
No, because of the lack of exceptions.
You just contradicted yourself, because I just gave you what the uniformity of nature, and you just said no, it's not possible. You don't know what you're talking about. You just flatly contradicted yourself. You're a very confused man.
Myself?
I said to you, I'll
Yeah.
repeat it again. I
Okay.
said the consistencies that you see,
Yeah.
could those be understood to be the product of a law-like background environment? And you said no.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said it was about chance. I thought you was
No.
going to say chance.
Okay, now the consistencies that you see, could they be produced by a law-like universe?
A law-like universe. Well, I'm assuming that the laws of nature and logic are there. They actually exist. Reality is real, basically.
Can chance produce any number of consistencies or inconsistencies?
Probably not. There is a. You see, when
okay, you know, this is so. This is the difficulty.
Probabilistic.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Could chance?
Okay.
If I took a barrel of Scrabble letters and I dumped them out, could chance produce several meaningful sentences?
Could Odin be the true god?
You're not answering my question.
I know. I'm answering your question.
Daryl, you know what? I'm going to end the conversation with you real soon.
Escape my question.
I will
answer
me.
Your question.
You're very confused. Now
if you
could
can escape my
chance
question,
produce
I
the
will answer
same
your
type
question.
of consistencies? Can chance produce the same type of consistencies that you believe that nature operating uniformly does? Could chance produce those same consistencies?
Okay, realistically, no. Chance could not.
Why not? Why
produce
not?
those
Why not?
consistencies.
Why not?
Because realistically, it's not possible.
How is it not possible?
On the moon. Invisible
how is it not possible? How is it not possible for chance to produce
How
any
is it not possible?
How is it not possible for him to finish a sentence?
How is it not possible that Hindu is the correct religion? The true
okay, this
religion?
is a waste of time. Every time I ask him a direct question, he changes the subject.
You're just changing the subject. He's asking you a question and you're changing the subject. That's the problem here.
Who was that to?
And now we're just talking. Now we're just talking about garbage. Now we're just talking about
Hilarious.
garbage.
Calm down, Hilarious.
Yeah, nobody's answering questions though. Everybody's just going at it.
Right.
Can I
answer Daryl's question?
Right, this is a waste of time.
Yeah.
This is a waste of time talking with Daryl.
Okay.
He doesn't know what he's talking about these issues, and when I ask him direct questions, he's very confused and he segues onto another subject.
You're confused, and all of everything that you're saying at the moment is you trying to win some kind of one-upmanship in a conversation rather than.
No, I'm just asking you
conversation.
questions based upon your own assertions. And every time I ask you a specific question based upon your assertions, you segue on to some semi-related topic without answering my question.
He's asking an extrapolation based upon your assertion that the Christian God is the truth. No, he
doesn't even understand the basic concept of the
you asked me not to do the same. Can I ask for the same favor, please? Right. He's trying to put a parallel of why is Hinduism the correct religion or why is not Islam. Now, I can give answer for those because unlike you, I've actually studied those religions. Now, the thing is, Darwin's, is that it's called intellectual charity. You let the other person follow and you take it on as a hypothetical. Okay?
Okay. So my point was that we're talking about the limits of probability. Now, the fact that there are infinite possibilities doesn't mean that any infinite possibility could realistically exist, like invisible pink fairies on the dark side of the moon. We don't consider that as a possibility. Now, it's a theoretical possibility, but we don't entertain the idea. We have no need to. So,
Well, but if I can step in, I'll say, even though I believe you're right, I believe it's very highly unlikely, but
The matter is that science has said that, for instance, if you
Some mad sniping going on there. Just taking a peek here to see who did it. It says Tommy did it. I very, very much doubt that was Tommy. That is not in his bag of tricks. Well, that's a shame. That's a shame. Yeah, I know it's a couple of people are sending messages like Daryl says he got kicked. Somebody had come in, looked like under the name Tommy. Oh, Rats Meek just joined, and I'm about to get sniped again. Oh, I should use my unsnipeable account. Someone can message Daryl to tell him, as Daryl Soar is commenting in the live chat, someone can message him that it was a sniping. He wasn't removed for anything he did. It's kind of too bad. Let me just check something else here. It's too bad. These conversations can be fun. I do kind of wish. Well, mind you, we're kind of at the point there too, where people start pointing out to DD that he's, interrupting people and complaining about being interrupted, and it's too bad. These hangouts have a good potential for having some actual conversation, but when you got one person that wants to scorekeep the whole thing and just tell Daryl, "Oh, you're being inconsistent. Oh, you shot yourself in the foot. Oh, you're changing the topic." How is Daryl segueing? That's an interesting question. How is Daryl possibly segueing when he's 4 words into a sentence? How can you change the topic in 4 words? That's weird. Well, I'm also killing some time here to see if Antonio, you ought to message me if you want me to announce that you're starting a new Hangout, or you know what, just everyone keep your eye on Antonio Fletcher's Google Plus feed, because it does seem like something he'll want to do is start up a new Hangout. Because this one, I'm going to guess, has about 4 minutes left. I mean, you guys can keep watching if you want. I'm not going to say anything interesting. I'm just using a couple of